alphabetic civilization. What does it really mean?
Well, after all that we've talked about, I wanted maybe to put it into some sort of perspective that I've been thinking. And I've mentioned it before about the scaffolding of the of reality, of quantum reality. And here it gets into some very unusual theoretical physics. I was very influenced by Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, who have been discussing the question of consciousness and how consciousness is formed. And to cut a long story short, they're arguing, each with their own expertise, that energy being shot out from the Big Bang or from collapsed stars has arrived on Earth, and in frequencies, in very, very large frequencies, and perhaps there's not energy, but there's energy of energy of energy. Perhaps there are entropies or series of different entropies of energy coming, but having arrived on Earth and seem to exist in the neurons. They're very, very fine frequencies, which are very, very microtic. They're very small. They cannot be noticed. They're a million times a second. They're very, very quick and minute. They have not been noticed until now, until recently, and they've been noticed by Stuart Hameroff because he is an anaesthetologist, and he identified that anesthesiology affects those waves, and they appear to be quantum waves, and it affects them in the microtubules. It affects them in a neuronic level, and it doesn't affect it on a larger scale. It only affects it on the scale of these frequencies. So the collaboration between him and Sir Roger Penrose led to a theory of what consciousness is. That consciousness is in fact a form a shared energy, almost, which originated in the Big Bang, or in huge energy outbursts. But it seems that this energy has a very unique that it's infinite. It functions in a way that we cannot imagine, and perhaps in many different dimensions. Whilst we can recognize 2 or 3 or 4 possibly dimensions, and some say 5 dimensions, people are saying, the physicists are saying that this energy can expand in many dimensions. And the question is, and even infinite directions. And the question is, what does infinity look like, and the different forms of infinity? Whilst we can have infinity, it can be the shape of infinity. Infinity can have one part of it in one way, a certain way, and another part of it in another way. And the question is how to structure this infinity, and as it will go in any way, shape, or form. My thought was, how is it that we, as the biological organisms, we've apparently evolved through these entropies of energy from originally from bacteria, which this microtubules, and this energy appears first in bacteria, and then later on in one cell microorganisms, and then multi-cells, and into all the other kingdoms, the life kingdoms that we have until humanity. So it apparently is at the very source of humanity and of life. The question is, how can one take this energy which seems to be exuding in many dimensions and form it and create a scaffolding to take it and to create in itself and I believe that the imagination and language is a form of assembly line of scaffolding in which we can create by using this method and maybe this method and maybe future other methods, but to perhaps to recognize that we may be dealing with incredible energy which is at the basis of consciousness, and if that can be harnessed by humanity and with our tools, we can mine this incredible energy from the beginning of the cosmos. And like we are able to mine a mule to be able to put a goad onto a mule and get it to work. But in this case, where a mule will be burdened, this energy wants to express itself and wants to expand in multiple and many dimensions, and it wants to be exploited as much as we should try to exploit it.